On Tuesday, I released a video discussing how I had finally discovered a way after several months that we can actually go after Nintendo and fight back against Nintendo filing all of these allegedly fraudulent patents, the patents that are at the center of the Power World versus Nintendo, the Pocket Pair versus Nintendo case, and seem to me, at the very least, and to many of us, to be crazy, either too broad or to just trying to patent a genre or a concept or an idea, something that I don't believe should be legal. After many, many months, I had found a way to actually go after them. And that way is really two ways. I only covered one in the original video, but it's two ways. There's something called a post-grant review and an inter-partes review. A post-grant review is something that a third party is allowed to apply for within 9 months of a patent being granted, and an inter-partes review is something that a third party is allowed to apply for after 9 months of a patent having been granted. Now, one of the big differences between a post-grant review and an inter-partes review is a post-grant review can be done for essentially anything that is a reason why a patent shouldn't be granted in the first place. So this covers things such as prior art. Did something like this exist before the patent was applied for by someone else? If so, prior art exists, you can't patent it. Obviousness, is this something that someone with a reasonable level of skill in the field that the technology that is being patented is in would be able to create, in which case you can't patent it. You're not allowed to patent a lever. You're not allowed to patent a pulley, something like that, or you're not allowed to patent something that someone would obviously be able to create on their own. Lack of clarity, if the patent is not clear on what it's patenting, which in a way I would almost go for the wording that's being used in a lot of these Nintendo patents seems almost intentionally confusing and intentionally hard to read. So I would almost say that that might be a case or an argument that could be made. That's not one of the arguments that I would rely on in this case. Or a lack of descriptiveness, essentially, or several other reasons, but I'm going to stop there. Lack of descriptiveness would be something like, would it allow someone to read that patent and understand how to make the thing that is being patented? If not, then patent shouldn't be granted. And that might be something too. Someone that's familiar with the field, that might be something too that can go after. And an inter-partes review is just prior art and obviousness. That's all you're allowed to do in prior art, and is prior arts and obviousness. I'm going to go over where we are in this, and I'm going to go over the steps that I am going to be taking and that I would appreciate your help in taking in order to make this happen. One of the first steps that we need to do, one of the first steps that we need to figure out is already done, because the first step is figuring out which one of these we can do. Basically figuring out if we have the standing in order to do this and which ones we have the standing to do. And the main factor there is we are a third party. I am a third party. I am not engaged in a lawsuit with Nintendo over these patents. So I have standing here, at least from my understanding. If something crazy comes up and it turns out I'm incredibly wrong here, I will release a follow-up video and I will find someone who has standing and I will get them to, or I will try to motivate them to. And part of that is finding out which one of these to do. So again, a post-grant review is within 9 months of the patent being granted, and an inter-partes review is 9 months after a patent has been granted. So let's go over the 4 patents that I'm looking at right now. These are the 4 patents that are kind of central to the Power World Nintendo lawsuit. Now that lawsuit is happening in Japan. We can't go over, at least in this way, we can't go after those patents, but they have some of those patents also in the United States. So trying to fight them in the United States at the very least will stop the lawsuit from hopefully being brought over to the United States as well, and might help establish some sort of precedent to at least enact some level of change and help this out. The first patent at issue, and now this is not one that is currently being used in the lawsuit, but is one that could very easily be used in the lawsuit if they bring it over here. It is US 122. How many twos is that? US 1222068 Bravo 2. That is the patent for throwing an item that affects a field character and providing data about success rates. Effectively, this right here. You see that? I am gearing up to throw this sphere at this Chickapee. I have a legendary sphere, so it's telling me I have 100% success rate. Bam. That's what that patent is for. There's also patent US 1240339 Bravo 2. That is the patent that we have all recently become aware of. That is colloquially being referred to by a lot of us as the patent for the concept of a creature capture game. The patent that talks about summoning a sub-character, that sub-character moving automatically and independently from your command and following you and then engaging in combat if it needs to. That's what that patent is for. Now, the first patent, I skipped a step here in what I was planning on doing. I'm so sorry. The first patent was granted on February 11th, 2025, which means we have until November 11th, 2025 to file a post-grant review. After that, it would have to turn into an inter partes review. Patent US 1240339 Bravo 2, the one about the creature capture game genre, was granted on September 2nd of 2025, very recently, which means we have until June 2026 to file a post-grant review. US 1240938 Bravo 2, that is the one that is about the smooth switching of characters, the one that a lot of us originally thought was kind of talking about the riding mounts, the fact that you can take this Van Worm. It is now in a ground state. It's on the ground. It would have been better if I had a Frostallion here because it looked more obvious, but it's on the ground and now it's in the air. A lot of us thought it was about that, but it seems like what they're going after and a lot of what they're trying to focus this on is this. I am now gliding. That is the thing that it seems like they're going after. That one was granted on September 9th of 2025 in the United States, which means we also have until June 2026 to file a post-grant review for that. And unfortunately, US 1217911 Bravo 2, which is throwing an item that has an effect on a field character. You're not allowed to have grenades anymore. You're definitely not allowed to throw spheres that capture things anymore. That one was granted on December 31st, 2024, which means we cannot file a PGR, but we can in fact file an inter partes review, and we can do that right now if we wanted to. So that step has been done. I have already figured out which one of these we can do and how long we have until do them until we have to switch. And there's the thing too, a lot of the data I'm going to be focusing on is the stuff that would work for both of them. That way, even if for some reason it takes too long to get this all together and we can't get started, we can still go forward. We'll just have to change which ones we file. Step 2, this is the step we're at right now. This is correlating data points. What we are doing and what I have requested you guys help me with in the past is finding as many data points from printed publications, that way it works for the IPR, as many data points from printed publications of prior art exhibiting these mechanics, and specifically exhibiting the mechanics the way that they are explained in the different claims. I'm going to go over that in a second. This is where I need your help. I could do this. It would take me a lot of time, and I would probably miss stuff because I wouldn't know, or I wouldn't have the knowledge of something that you guys might have knowledge of because I never played that game or I never saw that, and it'd just be annoying to search for, and I don't want to miss anything. I want to have as much data as possible for this. I want to be so overwhelming with data that they can't deny it, kind of thing. I want to have to be trimming stuff just to make it palatable. That's where I want to be with this. I want so much. So what this part is basically that. Gathering the data points, showing the mechanics, having been instituted in games prior to December 21st, 2021, or December 22nd, 2021 is the date that I'm going with, because there is a risk that they try to say that this has priority to the Japanese patents, kind of thing. That's the date that I want to go with for this, because if we can have it cover both the Japanese patents when they were filed for and the US patents, then they can't say, oh, well, we didn't file in the US because we filed in Japan. Nothing like that. I don't want any defense, and particularly if it's more than a year prior to that, because the statute of limitations in Japan for prior art is 6 months, but the statute of limitations in the United States for prior art is 1 year. So if we can get examples of these mechanics existing on December 21st of 2020 or earlier, that's great. And if it's in a printed publication, that is the wording that is used on the USPTO website. So something that is text, something that is, text and searchable. Unfortunately, I don't think gameplay trailers are going to work. I don't think, Let's Plays are going to work. I don't think any of that's going to work. And I don't want to risk applying that and them saying, oh, well, you didn't follow what we said and go away. So I'm looking for printed publications. I'm looking for game strategy guides that are dated. Game strategy guides that we can assign a date to that show that. Game review magazines, PC Gamer, Games Radar, Games Fray, any of these things that might discuss these mechanics and have a date assigned to them that is before that date, before December 22nd of 2020. And what I'm going to be doing is taking that data, correlating it to the appropriate patents, and more specifically, correlating it to the claims. Because the way in IPR or PGR works is you have to talk about which claims you are going after. And I'm going to have Mammoth pop up the US patent, US 1240339 Bravo 2. That is the one for the creature catch mechanics, and show you guys. I have it up right over here. But essentially, when you look at these patents, you have, you know, the abstract of the patent, you have the description of the patent, but you also have the claims of the patent. And these are like the individual nuances of the patent. So this patent in particular has 26 individual claims. So what I'm going to need to be doing is taking that data, taking that information, the, you know, the magazines, the strategy guides, the review articles, the whatever it is that talk about these mechanics, and then relating it to the individual claims that are laid out in the patents that it goes after, so that I can figure out where to apply that to. I'm also going to be trying to evaluate which claims are the most important. Like, if we get this claim taken care of, the patent is null and void kind of thing, or the patent is a lot less powerful and the patent can't be used as abusively as it could. So the claims that are the most important, the claims that are the most impactful, but also the claims that are the most likely to succeed, the ones that we have the most compelling evidence of, because there is a limitation in a way put on how many claims we can go after, and I'm going to get to that in a second here. But I'm going to be evaluating which claims they apply to and which claims are the most important and which claims are the most likely to succeed. Ideally, I will be working with a lawyer that is at least somewhat familiar with IP law and an experienced game dev, so that when we write up the explanations for this is what this article is describing and this is why it correlates to this patent, it will be with the perfect level of legalese and tech jargon, but easily understandable by layman, because I doubt the person at the USPTO that's going to be overseeing this is an experienced game dev. I strongly doubt that. So ideally, I will be working with two separate people on this: patent lawyer, or at least a lawyer that understands the legalese, and a game dev to understand the technical jargon. I have reached out to Legal Mindset at the very least, and he did get back to me saying he was interested in working together, so I'm just waiting to continue that conversation. I'm very excited about that. But that is the step that we're on right now. Gathering data, correlating data, and evaluating that data. That is where we're at right now. The next step, and this is the step where I will explain why there might be a limit to the number of claims we can go after, which is why we have to be very precious with which claims we choose to focus the most on. And that is, we file for the review, whether it is the post-grant review or the inter partes review. The next step, after we have all of that, after we have the explanations laid out, we have our documents ready to go, we have everything written up and ready to submit, we submit it, and when we submit it, we have to pay the review request fee and the post-institution fee for these claims. Now, for the post-grant review. The post-grant review is the one that is technically the most powerful, technically the most useful to us, because this is the one that any reason that this patent shouldn't have been granted, we can use it. We can use any reason why this patent, at least seemingly any reason why the patent shouldn't be granted, we can use to deny the patent. Whereas the inter partes review, it's just prior art and obviousness. And the review request fee for a post-grant review is $25,000, and the post-institution fee is $34,375, but the post-institution fee is recoverable if they decide to not take up the review. If they decide to not do the review, they refund that part of it, which totals for a post-grant review $59,375. For an inter partes review, the review request fee is $23,750, and the post-institution fee is $28,125. Also, once again, it's recoverable if they don't take it up, which is totaling $51,875. Now, each one of those, for the post-grant review or the inter partes review, that comes with 20 claims. We can file for 20 claims with that fee. Every claim after that, I believe, is $470 of review fee and $940 of post-institution fee if we want to go after more claims following that point, which adds up to, I don't know why I didn't already do this math, adds up to, if we wanted to go after another 20 claims, it would be another $28,000 total kind of thing. So we can start tacking up. After we pay that, say we do the post-grant review, we drop $59,375, and we have another 20 claims we want to go after, it would be another $28,000 kind of thing. It is prohibitively expensive for the average person to engage in. This is a process that is prohibitively expensive for the average person to engage in. I think that's kind of intentional to an extent. One, there is a cost associated with them doing this. They have to dedicate manpower. I mean, they have the manpower already there, and they're already paid, and they're already salaried employees, so I don't know how this is costing them anymore, but it's a money-making thing for them. They get to make money off of this. But I also think it is meant to be prohibitively expensive. That way, the average person isn't going to be like, yeah, I'll just drop 50 grand. I'll drop 60 grand on having them have to go through this entire review just to go after a patent for a company I don't like kind of thing. Yeah, that's a crazy thing to do. That would be a very crazy thing to do. And I'll get into that part at the end of the video. After we file for the review, we pay the fee. The Patent Trial and Appeal Board will decide whether or not it is worth taking on. And basically they decide whether or not it's worth taking on with whether or not at least one of the claims that we apply for has a reasonable chance of succeeding on the merits. So as long as one claim that we try to say, hey, this one shouldn't be valid because this, and this, they will take on they should take on the review process. After they take on the review process, the patent owner, in this case, Nintendo Co. Limited, will get the chance to respond. They will give their case of, hey, why you guys shouldn't do this. We will get to respond to their response, and then it will move on to the trial phase of this. And within 12 to 18 months, a decision will be issued. It's 12 months with a 6-month possible extension if there's good cause. So within 12 to 18 months, a decision will be made on whether or not they're going to devalidate the patents. I'm going to get to that pesky little cost associated with it. I am not going to start a GoFundMe or anything like that yet. What I'm going to do, because I don't have that kind of money at all. But I also recognize that is a lot of money to just shell out on a hope kind of thing, even if it's piecework. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait until we get to a point where we have properly correlated all the data, we have evaluated the claims, we have decided which ones are the most important, which ones we can actually go after, which ones we can't go after, got a total number of claims racked and stacked from the top 20 that we will go after, and then racked and stacked after that. The claim number 21 will go after, claim number 22 will go after, claim number 23 will go after, kind of thing. And then only when I know that everything is ready to file and it's just awaiting for that patent filing fee, or that review filing fee and that post institution fee, then I will start something like a GoFundMe or some sort of crowdfunding thing to try to raise the cost to do this, and I'll set the baseline for how much we need at the either $59,375 or $51,875, depending on which route we're going with this. And then the stretch goals effectively will be the stretch goals will be every $1,410 we take on an extra claim, kind of thing. And that is one of the reasons why I need you guys to spread this video, share this cause, get as many eyes on this as possible, because $60,000 is a lot of money to shell out for any one person, but I would not expect any one person to do it. So if we have 10,000 people that are tracking this and dedicated and motivated and willing to donate, and they each donate $6, we got there. If we have 30,000 people and they each donate $2, we got there. If we get 60,000 people that are keeping track of this with me, that are watching this with me, or that are helping out and they're willing to donate, and they each donate $1, we got this. So that prohibitively expensive cost, that, barrier to entry that seems like it's probably worked into this, goes away. It becomes a negligible cost the more eyes we get on this. But I'm not even going to start that. I'm not even going to start the crowdfunding part of this until everything is ready to file. I'm going to be as transparent as humanly possible with every single part of this as I can once it gets going. And I'm going to make sure that I will do everything within my power and within my knowledge to try to make this happen. And with that, I'm gonna ask for a little advice. I don't want to do 3. I'm gonna ask for your guys' thoughts on this, and comment under the pin post. And I might post a poll in my community posts, whatever thing. I might post a poll on YouTube to see what it is. What were the decisions we made? What were the decisions me and my editor made? Because we want to start a hashtag campaign just to get even more eyes on it. And I had come up with 3 possible hashtag ideas. Hashtag 1, don't patent art. Hashtag 2, stop video game patents. Hashtag 3, stop game patents. And, the suggestion from my editor, hashtag fuck Nintendo. I'm going to go ahead and veto hashtag fuck Nintendo as being officially related to this campaign, because this campaign the goal is for it to reach the eyes of decision makers, and I don't want it to be associated with vulgar language because a lot of those old boomers will be upset about that. When you're reposting stuff that's related to this, when you're reposting the Stop the Abuse of Misuse of Patent Law by Video Game Developers Change.org petition, post it with at least one of those three. Post it with Don't Patent Art, and get in the comments to see which one's going to be to vote on, or the post I make, the poll I make, to vote on which one should be the official hashtag of this campaign. I forgot to mention, there is a Google form. I have started a Google form for the correlating of this data. In the pinned comment and in the description, there's going to be a link to that Google form. If you know of prior art examples that would help out here, put it in that Google form. The more data, the better. But also with that, please leave a like, leave a comment, hype the video if you can, share if you're willing to. Let's get as many eyes on this as possible so that when the time comes, there's basically nothing stopping us, and we can hopefully affect some actual change with this. I'm very, very motivated for this. I'm very, very tired right now too. So I don't know if that's coming off as much as I would like it to. But as well, on a personal note, just if you want to help me out a little bit, I also have a storytelling channel. That storytelling is largely stories right now, because I'm reposting a lot of stories that were originally on this channel, is largely stories that are going to be posted once a week that are related to my time in the military. But a lot of them, some of them are just about my life. I have one about my stories about malicious compliance with, customers that were rude to me when I worked at a gas station. And if everyone that watches this video, or even I'm gonna guesstimate, if 10% of the people that watch this video go over there and subscribe and watch all the content on it, there's about an hour's worth of videos on there right now, then it'll take off. It'll take off. I have so many subscribers on the channel that it'll start getting organic growth. Either way, thank you so much for watching this far. I think this was a little bit longer video than normal. The recording is at 27 minutes. My God. But with that, I'm gonna have another video coming out tomorrow that's gonna be less about other moves that are being made to fight back against Nintendo. But anyways, goodbye and fuck Nintendo.